Harry, how you doing? It's good to see you again.
Hey Mark, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I know we were talking just briefly before. I guess one of the proclamations of this video interview should be don't work on holidays. You were saying, right?
Normally a good balance would be to was work hard, play hard, but yeah, also take your holidays.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk about wellness in a minute related to that. But in the meantime, could you just first tell our audience who you are, what you do, etc.?
I'm sure I'm Harry Massey. I'm the founder of NES Health, which invented a health analysis system and also a healing device. And I'm also a filmmaker and have made a couple of films called The Living Matrix and Choice Point.
And both excellent, by the way. And it's good to have you here. I really appreciate your perspectives, both in the healthcare and overall genre, and also the fact you've had international experience that I think will be great for our audience. So I'd like to just start. This is part of a whole leadership series that we're doing. I'd like to just start to get your perspective or your definition of what you think leadership really is.
I think leadership is a few things, but I mean, it's having a vision and a plan for where you're going, and B, getting out of your own way so to empower others to then be able to execute that plan. Because yeah, I mean, leadership definitely isn't about doing everything, but it is showing the way, and then it's helping others to grow and able to fulfill that plan out.
Do you find, again, you've got international experience. Do you find any differences in leadership or how a leader acts from the U.S. to the U.K. to Asia globally?
I mean, there's definitely a bit of difference between Europe and the US that I've noticed. Definitely in the East Coast in the US, you've got a much more sort of liberal, freer way of doing business, and I think things are much faster. Over in Europe, it's perhaps a little bit more traditional, and especially the holidays in Europe, everyone's into taking the whole of August off, and you never get anything done. But in the US, I think yeah, it's a stronger work effort, and I'd say marketing is much stronger in the US as well.
Do you find the personality of leaders is, not to generalize, but is different in that respect?
Um, I'd say, to be honest, leaders are probably similar everywhere. I mean, I think I think they're always warriors. I mean, yeah, people probably say they aren't, but I think it's sort of an outward confidence while they're internally worried, so they're solving problems. I think that's sort of common everywhere.
Yeah, you know, we do a lot of work in healthcare industry, and a big topic these days is wellness in companies and how wellness, as we've talked before a little bit, wellness is not just about the healthy corporate balance sheet, but it has to do with your talent, which is your number one asset. Um, Tell us a little bit about not only what you guys are doing at Nest, but your whole life mission, if you will, to a degree, or your thoughts on how talent and wellness really do come together and make a difference for a business.
Well, I mean, completely. I mean, your brain function is a complete manifestation of your overall health, and so yeah, I mean, if you're not looking after your health, and if you're not looking after your employees' health, you're never. Yeah, I mean, well, personally, you're never going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve, and obviously the same happens in your business. And yeah, there's probably a couple of aspects of that. I mean, one is keeping a healthy culture, so there's not too much stress, and yeah, and the other is obviously encouraging holidays and fitness, and general health.
Do you find, again, globally, do you find that leaders in businesses are paying more attention to the wellness of their employees so that the business can be performing better?
I think it's actually a very overlooked thing, because I think most people who are running businesses are so caught up in the hecticness of building their business. It's probably not at the top of their list of priorities at all. But I mean, it definitely should be, because if it was, I think yeah, I mean, I think they'd get much more out of the people involved in their corporations.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, one thing we're finding a lot is, especially younger people these days are paying more attention to it, and they, it's much easier to acquire or attract and certainly retain the best people if you are interested in their health and wellness. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, in our own company, obviously we make all our own health products, but I mean, we really encourage everyone to to basically follow the same stuff that we're teaching our practitioners, our clients. And in actual fact, even today, I think I just briefly mentioned that I went. We're trying all this thermogenesis stuff at the moment, which involves getting in ice cold baths and swimming in the cold sea. And there's four of us in the company that are doing that because we're all very passionate of sort of pushing the edge of our own performance. So but yeah, but you know, and obviously a really good way of doing that is if the leader is doing it, then of course other people will do it too.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. How I know your story to some degree, but with respect to that, you know, everybody generally has an influencer or maybe multiple influencers in their life, in their career. Can you name one or two people that have really influenced you?
Well, I was really fortunate in making the Choice Point film that I actually got to meet some of the people who've sort of influenced me through reading. I mean, one of them was Richard Branson. And I mean, one thing that comes to mind was when I was interviewing him. I mean, he said he said good leaders are really humble, and if you don't mind me saying, he said he said they're really humble because everyone uses the loo. Even, well, actually, he said even the Queen has a poo. Is what he actually said. Gosh, so bad.
It's a good point.
It's a comic, I mean, but this, I think the second thing he said is that leaders they're always much better listeners than they are speakers because it's only actually through listening that you learn anything. And you know, I mean, and he's definitely an incredible listener and quite a humble person when you get to meet him, because you think he's this sort of, I don't know, very tough, manly person or whatever it is, but actually he's not. He's got a very warm heart, and he's a very humble person.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, the Queen also parachuted out of a plane during the Olympics, didn't she?
I don't know. I didn't know about that.
No, it
Really?
was just it was a little trick thing they did.
Yeah.
You know, you've developed a pretty fast growing company in NES. Tell me what's your thoughts on how you develop, or any organization would develop, a winning culture.
Well, I think it's got to be fun. B, it really has to stand for what you're. I'll start that bit again. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, there's a few things in building a culture. I think one of the first things is it should definitely be a fun culture. But I think the second most important thing is that the culture is actually completely in line with the values of what you're trying to achieve. So I mean, in our case, we're building a health company, so it's really important that all of us exude health, and you know that we're all using our products and doing everything so we can teach all our practitioners, etc. And by doing that, it's so infused within us that you know we make sure we're always sort of continually developing our training and products along that. I mean, in other companies that, you know, well, I'm sure that's different in different companies.
Yeah, well, it should go without saying almost that to be successful, they say, you know, even you know, an Eskimo can sell, or the great salesman can sell an air conditioner to an Eskimo, but it's just not the same, obviously, if you don't have the passion for what you're doing, right?
Yeah, no, I think passion is, well, in the end, if you don't have passion, it'll dwindle and die. I think it's very hard to keep anything going without passion.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. Um, who do you go to for advice? I mean, you're the CEO of a fast-growing company. They say a lot of times CEOs are sometimes the loneliest people out there because they don't have anybody to talk to. Who do you go to for advice?
I mean, it all depends what the advice is, but I mean, generally you have a number of different mentors. I mean, you know, I've got one called Ram, who's a bit of a Silicon Valley. Well, I mean, he's built a number of Silicon Valley companies, and he sort of gives me the tougher advice, and if I want more gentle other advice, I ask other people. So, but I think it's actually quite important actually hold your own counsel and not actually not go to one person for advice, because then I think that then you're not developing yourself and taking your own decisions. So I think it's good to have a number of mentors.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I like to ask everybody this. It's kind of an old question, but I like it. Is there a leader that you've admired, past or present, that you'd quote unquote would love to have dinner with?
I mean, well, I interviewed Jean-Paul DeJoria, and I don't know him very well. I mean, I only met him for like 45 minutes when I was filming him. But I'd quite like to have dinner with him, because he seemed to have sort of got it right, and he also came out of this quite incredible crisis. I mean, he was homeless twice, and obviously he's ended up the fourth or fifth, I think it's the fourth or fifth richest man in the States. And he also and he does all these amazing projects like Grow Appalachia, where he's basically trying to get lots of small town communities on to grow their own food, and that type of thing. But I know he was another one. He was a bit like Richard, but he just had a really big heart, and I'd quite like to get to know him a bit more.
Is that where you met him initially through the filming?
Yeah, well, I met him because we were making the film.
That's awesome. Couple of simple questions right now, basically, to just get to know you a little bit better. What's your favorite sport?
Oh, it used to be rock climbing, and right now it's kiteboarding, which I guess is another part of the having fun. I'm quite excited with that at the moment, because I didn't think I'd ever be able to surf without straps on a kiteboard, but I took the straps off last week, so that's quite exciting, and it's sort of a little example of everything is very incremental in life, but if you just keep going sort of one little bit at a time, it's amazing the abilities that both your body and mind are able to achieve. And absolutely nothing comes overnight. I would say that's I think. Well, they say in business, like an overnight success that actually took 10 years in the making, and that's probably true of NES. I mean, our business is 11 years old, and it's growing much more fast now. That is because of years of sort of incremental learning.
Yeah, I think you'll find that example a lot, whether it's a LinkedIn or any of those any company. It seems like overnight, or you're a movie star, they say, "Wow, where did that person come from?" Well, try 10, 15 years of working before that, right?
Yeah, that's it.
No, I'd agree. Hey, do you have a favorite movie and or TV show?
I really like sci-fi. So I mean, I loved all the Star Wars ones, and I loved all the Lord of the Rings ones. But to be absolutely honest, I probably read more. I read more non-fiction, because that's just a time factor.
Yes, I know. It's good that you read, though, because it's becoming a little bit of a lost art. So I'm glad people promote that, as much as
Yeah.
anything. Do you have favorite type of music?
Well, I do. I'm from the English drum and bass rave scene, and it hasn't developed much yet.
Well, you are unique in that respect.
Yeah.
What about food? Do you have a favorite food?
Food, I do. Well, food. Not really. To be honest, not really. My diet changes all the time. So sometimes I'm raw vegan, and sometimes I eat loads of meat and fish. So no, I wouldn't say I have a favourite food.
So you just like food?
I do like food. Yeah, I like very high quality food. That's
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
okay. Quality's better than quantity any day of the week.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Harry, I really appreciate your time. It's always great talking with you, and we'll talk soon.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Take care.
Cheers.